Hello and welcome to the Economic Times Cutting Chai Stories, an initiative by ETH. I am Ashwani Mishra, bringing to you conversation with CXOs over a cup of chai as we try to discover interesting insights into their personal and professional journey, key lessons learned, their leadership traits, hobbies, and other such engaging topics. I have been joined today by Prasanna Lohar, Head Digital, Innovation and Architecture at DCB Bank. Welcome, Prasanna, on Cutting Chai Stories.
Yeah, very good morning, Ashwini, and thanks for the invite. Looking forward.
It's a pleasure to host you, Prasanna. Prasanna, let's begin with your childhood. You did your schooling from Bhosla Military School in Nasik. How different were you with respect to kids your age? What were some of the lessons that you have learned and, studying at a boarding school? Yeah.
So I think good question, but just to correct you, my father used to work in a government service, which is around a state transport service in Maharashtra.
Right.
So the service was in a such a way that he has to serve for 2 to 3 years in every district. That's how our journey started. So my educational beginning started in Ratnagiri, followed by Latur or Usmanabad, and later on we shifted to Nagpur and then to Bhandara.
Okay.
Bhandara, where I was rearing for going for a military, like I was in NCC in air wing in Nagpur, as well as followed by an army wing. So that's how I started studying for military school, and rather I got admitted in Nasik Bhosla Military College for 11th.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Yeah, so that's how I think what this gives me learnings around Bhosla Military College or traveling in so many cities. So that brings networking, like how to make new friends or how to really gel with the new conditions immediately. So every time we used to shift to another school, right? So making new friends, understanding those teachers, understanding culture, and how to really find out the school for initial few days, right? So these are all good experience. I think I was blessed with these experiences in studying in more than 5 to 6 schools, and then back in Nasik Military College, where everything was disciplined. Morning from 4 o'clock to evening 11 to 12 o'clock you sleep. Every hour was planned for every student. How to get in the morning, followed by exercises, and throughout the day. So that brings a bit of a discipline in me, although I may not find so disciplined, but that really gives a good gesture whenever you are in corporate life. What I've learned in the 2 years at 11, 12, that I still remember. And that reflects in my actions whenever I work with within bank or outside of the bank. Yeah.
So, you did your college, from a military college, So, did you have inclinations to join the armed forces, or, was it more to, inculcate the discipline and the values that go along with it?
Yeah, I think when I did my air wing in 8th standard in Nagpur, and unfortunately I had to shift to Bhandara district. So there I joined army wing for 2 years.
Okay.
So I visited many camps. Like usually every year there are annual training camps, ATC camp, usually it is called. So I visited maybe around 2 to 3 camps since 8th, 9th, and 10th. And I was very good at whatever you say, field exercise, or we call this a parade, and whatever the activities which are. So that always motivated me. Why not I try for a army or a defense services? So on to I came to know, okay, Bhosla Military College is such a college which provides you education as well as various other extracurricular activity which are towards your examinations like NDA or Combined Defense Services. So I did appear for NDA. I cleared it also in my first attempt.
That's nice. Yeah,
and I was about to join, but there were some personal challenges, rather responsibility towards home. So that's how I started going to normal academic into engineering. So that I did from SGS College of Nanded.
Nanded, right?
Where
Yes.
I finished my 4 years of engineering. So that's another out of home exercise, right? So that's how I'm been like a trotter around India, scouting for startups, fintechs, and various innovations. Yeah.
Okay. So those early days influences have stayed with you till date.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's what I can say. Uh, Staying away from him home, initially it was a bit challenging. Say, example, in 11, 12, I think typically how to deal with seniors, right? That's a typical story. But
Hmm.
those seniors only will teach you how to really get into the life. And I must say that the group which I had in the 96, 90s, 94, 96, which is from Hosam, I still meet them. Rather, forget about lockdown. But I think after Facebook or social media is being active, I think we meet almost 3 to 4 times a year. And
Oh,
whenever we meet at least in a group of 20 to 25 of them. So
okay.
that's the beauty of that group. And nobody is banker out there. Neither nobody is from IT backgrounds. Some of them are into hotels, some of them are into defense,
Various fields, right?
Indian defense or a South African defense, or some of them are motivational speakers internationally. So it's like having that 20 plus years background and meeting together and discussing about their respective lives. It's quite great learning. Yeah.
True, true, true. So, you joined the corporate side of, when you joined Digital Alchemy, I believe, right? You joined them as a software engineer.
Yeah,
And
so I passed out of my engineering in Nanded and I landed in a city, Pune. So everybody was running around three cities that moment, Mumbai, Pune, or Hyderabad.
right.
Bangalore was just picking up that moment. Any of those software engineers. So I did my first year into civil engineering. I shifted my branch. So I was a distinction in the first year. So I shifted my branch into computer science engineering. Uh,
Okay.
and I think that's how my journey started, reached Pune. In Pune, I used to work like a freelancer initial few days before getting into digital alchemy. So digital alchemy was another experience rather. I was working for NMC and NMC was collaborated with the digital alchemy. They were looking for some good software developers. And wherein I finished that interview properly and got shifted from Pune to Mumbai. So I think 1.5 year. I think there was a story in Pune that you go to any of those small software company or a small internet cafe and ask about Prasanna Lohar. So everybody
Okay.
was now aware of these guys. So that's how I lived networking and roaming around in Pune because I was living alone. But later on, I got shifted with my sisters out there and helped my sister also get into corporate life. So and in Bombay, I think typical Bombay life, right? So usually for a initial few months, I worked in digital alchemy, and I used to come back to Pune every weekend just to see my sisters. How are they doing it? So
Okay.
and again go back in a Sihangad express every morning 5 o'clock and reach back to the office around 9:30 10 in a VT
Oh,
station
okay.
or a
Okay. Okay.
CST these days. So that's how was the life. And that was again a typical small setup. I must say, every organization which I joined, they were small initially, and they have rised as one of those better or best
Yeah.
organizations. Say
And
example.
and and in most of these organizations, you have doing roles around research and development, Prasanna. So,
Yeah,
correct me if I'm.
research, development, innovation, digital. So I think that has really helped me. The way I was talking about digital alchemy. After digital alchemy, I got into a company called Technimont ICB. And again, I said they started another IT unit within the company, and I was the first employee there. So I served them for 6 years within India, outside of India in Milan. So I was deputed in Milan for a quite long time. So
Okay.
that's another experience internationally, how to deal with the different cultures, right? Uh, and I think after Technimont ICB back in 2007, when I was discussing with my managers, I think what should I do here onwards? I know so many things. I know development. This is a typical anxiety of any of those senior software developers, right? So it was in every organization I had a smooth transition. It's not like the one fine day I'm deciding, let me put on the paper and just
Right.
be my own zone. So I think I discussed with my managers and seniors and done a lot of study before shifting my company from typical engineering company, right? Technimont was one of those top engineering company in the world. Myra Engineering is something which has
Right.
taken.
Right. Right.
I think I joined Mastec, so where I met my project manager Kaustuf. So Kaustuf, I interviewed by Kaustuf in one of those coffee shops, barista in Dadar, and
Okay.
in a within 15 minutes. I think Prasanna, you should work with us, and I think that will really help Mastech to grow. So that's how I worked with Mastech for 2 years, one within India. And later on, one of our technical architect was about to get another assignment, and they looking at my research and helping many projects within a Mastech. It's not only I was working for International Personal Finance, which is our international customer into microfinance, but I was again always helping other projects because I was aware of many technologies through Technimont. I worked on embedded systems, smart card systems, in different oracles or SQL servers or .NETs or Java. So that has helped me to help many of those other projects in Mastech. And they asked me, why don't you come to Leeds or in UK and
UK,
take
right.
it from that technical architect? That's how my architecting journey started way back in 2008. So, so it was a
Very
great experience in working with those British culture. They have a typical way of working, very disciplined. If one of those meeting, I was late by 2 minutes, and they were just looking at me why I'm not saying sorry. I'm late for 2 minutes. Although, so I think time punctuality. I think that comes through this kind of. Although today I was late because of some other reason, but I think that has really given understanding different set of people, right? So Ashwin, I'll tell you, you may feel you are really working normally, but you have to get into that nerve of Britishers
No,
or nerve of those Italians to understand their culture.
right.
So, so it's a different way to understand variety of people across the world. I think in a Mastech UK, when I was there, I did one project wherein a data transfer from one country to another. So for continuous 5 days, I was writing a paper, and a good part of that paper was being appreciated by all the technical arts of IPF, International Personal Finance, and they collaborated with another company, Vodafone UK,
Right, right,
to do one of those first implementation to do collection system on mobile. Just imagine way back in 2008 and 9. And
right.
that has given me more boost that yeah, certainly I can also be one of those architects and help community, help organization wherever I go. Way back in 2008, 9, end, 2008 end, there were some family responsibilities. So, and my project was almost over, which was the centralization of all the 7-8 countries database. We used to do fund transfer, data transfer through satellite communication. We evolved it on internet.
Okay.
Again, again similar, like I discussed with my project managers out there. So, and that moment, I think Mastech or any of those IT companies in 2008 were going under a lot of pressure, right? So, market pressure, a lot of
Right,
financial crises
right,
happened. So,
right.
I used to in UK, I used to hear every day this bank has vanished or this bank has. So, it's a lot of issues were there. I think that's how my life was into typical CMM level companies where I
Companies.
was part of a quality management system also. So my efforts helped Mastech to get into CMM level certificates, higher level certificates. So coming from Pune as an entrepreneur, getting into software development with digital Alchemy, then back in Technimont, understanding typical international engineering company, and then get into structured software development lifecycle
Development.
with the Mastech. That's how.
Aspect.
Then I was ready for a financial industry. That's what I would say in 2009. Yeah.
Right. So I was about to ask you the next question, Prasanna. So good 13, 14 years you were with mostly the IT service provider
Yeah.
side of in your job. How did DCB happen? So Development Credit Bank,
So
as it was
that's
called then.
so it's a DCB Bank Limited, not development. So
I know, I know.
2009, when I was just looking for some opportunities, so I think I got call from Mr. Satish Rao, who was a CTO of Venture Infotech in 2009. And 30, 45 minutes we spoke, and on the phone he said, come down and let's work together. So I reached the office, and it was something new office for me, right? Venture Infotech is one of those, just a company, and I was just roaring for what to do next. And then I found Venture Infotech was a pioneer company into debit cards, or a pioneer company in India for point of sale, or a
Okay.
pioneer company in the for credit cards. So I felt I'm blessed, whatever I was looking for, getting into banking or a financial industry. So where I served Venture Infotech at least for 6 years. So just imagine in a banking what happens. So there are three sides. One side where customer comes, right? or another side where customer comes to merchant and merchant has to be ready
Right.
to accept those transaction. And in between, this is a trusted layer which will take the transaction from customer and give it to merchant, again give it to bank, whichever is the beneficiary bank. So at venture, which was typically taken over by Atos, and today we call it as a Worldline. So I had done development of all the three areas. So
Okay.
how to personalize a card, right? So I was one of those initial EMV certified professional in India to create a chip
Mhm.
card. So we used to do personalization of around almost 80 to 90,000 cards a day for 25
Oh,
plus.
that's huge. Okay.
So this whole process of card issuance, right? Then merchant onboarding. So India's first PC POS or today we MPOS, right? So working with the Easy Tap and all, and the middle part, switch part for IOCL or BPCL or many of those banks like PNB, SBI. So it was good experience to understand complete banking industry outside of the bank,
Right.
right? And the
Right.
best part of 2009 to 2014, many backbone systems arised. Backbone system like NFS through NPCI or IMPS, or you talk. These were the backbone systems, and was good to know these systems before I joined DCB. So again, once again, 2014 September. So when I decided to get into a bank, right? So I was having offer of many more banks. So I may not name those banks. Barclays was one of them, Kotak was one of them, or S Bank was one of them, and DCB Bank, and there were for few IT companies. And I started coming in DCB Bank before my joining date. And say
Okay.
example, my joining was September. I started coming to DCB on every weekends. Saturdays was off and at all, so I used to start on every Saturday. I used to spend and understand how's the bank culture. I used to chit chat with colleagues who are potential colleagues, right? So typically what happens for any of those employers, they wait for their joining date, right? And this
Right.
guy will come and then understand. But I started my interest before, I think within a 2 months, I started knowing everything. And before, during interview, my president has asked me, create a blueprint for a bank. Okay, then only I will hire you.
Okay.
And I think I took 7 to 8 days to create a blueprint for a digital bank based upon my whatever experience I had. It may not be the accurate blueprint that moment in 2014, but I think he must have seen the complete architecture experience and complete system experience may be helpful for a bank like system. Although I was not into mobility, I was not into internet banking. Typically, I had never used mobile banking until I joined DCB Bank. Or I had typically my wife used to use internet banking before joining into DCB Bank. So I think
Okay.
getting into bank, so initial 1.5 year, it was a massive experience, knowing nothing and knowing those around 18 plus systems I made live in within a first 1.5 year, including
Okay.
banking or
That's it.
mobile banking or many more mobile apps. And while doing this, Ashwin, what happens, you are a small fish in the bank, right? One of those
True.
banks. And apart from that, you need get to know what's happening in the world. So I used to meet at least 2 to 3 partners every day. So in India, whoever is doing mobility, whoever is doing video KYC, or any of those banking relevant application, I must have known them within initially 2 to 3 years. So
Okay.
that is helping now, right? If somebody asks me, many of my banking friends or many of my that ask, who could be the better service provider, I can tell you who has really done better work or
Done better
bad work,
work.
nice work, and that's how really helps for that.
That's the importance of building your own network, and
Yes,
reaching out.
absolutely.
So that
Yes,
really helps, Prasanna.
yes,
So very interesting insights, Prasanna. I know. So a lot of learnings here.
yes.
You've worked in organizations in India, globally. What are some of the leadership lessons that you follow, and how do you lead and inspire your own team?
So leadership is every day. For a leadership, learning is every day. If you feel that you are a leader, I think your leadership has gone. You need to feel that you are part of a team, and your responsibility is to pull off your colleagues up to your level, or maybe if I am hiring somebody in my team, I will always look at whether he's better than me, so that he's
Right.
helpful for my organization. That is one of those things which I already always seen. and collaborate with your peer team members, keep an eye on how management is moving, participate into those discussions, give your opinions in any of those initiatives, right? Say example, one of those days we were discussing about eKYC. So one of the thought came from MDs with that, why don't we create a Aadhaar enabled ATM? So immediately getting into market and understanding who could do it, right? That could be like immediate. Having a better networking is very, very important for leaders.
So
For a team, always work with them closely, understand their sentiments, emotional side of them. It will be a friend with them. So my leadership, I would say, initially in DCB Bank, I was very aggressive leader. Just coming out of that typical IT background, right? So wherein we work or deal with the timelines, deadlines, because some banks ask you, deliver this report by 8 o'clock, we'll do it by 7:30. Reach to this office by 1 o'clock, we'll reach there by 12:30, and we will wait for 4 hours to have a meeting, right? So that is how, like, towards deadline, timeline, target. But what happens, Ashwin, while doing this, you need to understand the capacity and capability of your other team members. So it took some time for me to understand, right, how to deal with them, then I switched my gear. So I, from a digital or alternate channel head, I got into innovation. So I created digital structure in India, in the DCB Bank. I created innovation structure also in the DCB Bank in starting 2017. So for a leader, you should understand, sometimes within an organization, you have to start from zero. So do not worry. The time will come, you'll have to rely on yourself, your own gut feeling, your own trust that you will do a better job. So you should have that view. You will take your organization or your department or your people to this level and keep that repeating every day, right? So whatever your targets are there, project timelines, I ask my team members, write it down every day what you are doing and track it yourself. Don't track it for a bank, but track it yourself, so that it is helpful for you. Automatically bank will get benefited out of it. That gives everybody see what he's really doing for the organization for that 8, 9, 10 hours, right? So shifting gears, so getting into a very humble, or I would say soft spoken start from that aggressive leadership. And moreover, I think we discussed quite a long, right? So inclination towards outside industry, public forums, or speaking in the conferences, understanding it, and don't keep it to yourself. Keep it to your other colleagues within an organization. That is gonna helpful. I think for a better leader in 2021, it's not IQ, but it's EQ. Intelligence. That's very, very important. Having a knowledge of a blockchain, AI, anybody can learn, but how to translate into somebody's need, or how to collaborate to bring one startup or another startup or one corporate or one of the coordination together, that's another way to really look at, and so that you help. So within a DCB initial few years, I always help organization to grow. But while looking at it, I thought, why not India, or why not other forum? That is how I got more into forum. So I'm a member of IMEI, or
various committees.
I am a co-chair of FICCI for blockchain and cryptocurrency initiatives of India. Video KYC you heard, right? So that was one of those recommendations by the group of IMEI, where I also imparted my knowledge how to do architecting for those initiatives. So working closely with some of the state governments like Telangana or Andhra, when the AP FinTech Valley was coming up, or Maharashtra government. So for a leader, they should know from where you have come, right? Which school, which college, your family background. You have to always stick to those basics, right? And see what is that you can do better meant for your society. How can we innovate? How can we collaborate and take everybody together, right? And at the same time, learn from mentors. Have some mentors in the industry, and
that's very important.
You may feel that you are one of the top 100 CIOs, or one of the top 100 innovation lead in India. A journey doesn't stop there, right? Every day is a journey. Whenever I do some of those my hackathons, I sit with those startups or fintech guys throughout the night, just to understand what they are going through, how they are, because they are also sometimes mentor for you. So this generation is quite different, right? Upcoming startups, fintechs, or millennials. So they have a different outlook to look at the same thing which you have seen in throughout your 20 years. So at times they are your mentors. At times some of those ex-bankers, right? I am always in touch with them just to understand or discuss with them some of those challenges, problem statements, or new things. That also gives you very good output. So for a good leader, they should follow some of the good leaders also, and look
True,
and
true.
always try to reach that level. Yeah.
Right. Right. I guess, we'll have to cut it short, Prasanna, but
Yeah.
before that, I can clearly understand, and the way you are passionate about your work and the effort that you've put all around, is very visible. One last question before I wind up is, what do you enjoy doing in your free time? Any hobbies, interests that you pursue?
So I think I have a lot of hobbies.
If any free time you have that way.
Yes, yes.
So,
And that way I was wondering ki I really immediately collected my time since DCB. I think not much free time these days. But I think whenever I have a free time or whenever I go out, I carry my camera with me. So I'm a
okay.
passionate photographer in since 2003. Way back in Milan, when I used to roam around in many those cities like Rome or Pisa or there are Pompeii and a lot of cities, and it's
Right.
a beautiful country. And while watching beautiful country, I got into photography. So whenever within Bombay also, whenever I'm in a weekend roaming around within a Brihan Mumbai so there are a lot of spots where you can do and sit together with your friends or alone, do photography on various topics, human life or how is Mumbai is growing or nature around Mumbai. Or I think at being at a DCB, I had done hackathons or those innovation sessions. I think more than 20-30 cities. I visited so many academias in the last 2 to 3 years, IITs, IIMs, Kanpur. So wherever I go in any of the cities, I carry my camera. After work,
Along with you.
I roam around streets and just like another normal Indian citizen, get into photography. And I enjoy photography heavily. So that's one of the passion which I carry in a free time, and I think that's growing. I think within DCB also, whenever I get time within a DCB, any of those events does occurs, everybody just looks at me whether I carried camera
Yeah,
today or not. So that's the
so you're the
that's
official
that's
photographer
the
as
thing
well.
also. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
Right, right, Prasanna. Thank you so much for your time. It has been a pleasure interacting with you and learning a lot from you. Thank you.